Hey there, I just got back from a 9-day road trip. I was doing podcasts all throughout the South with college coaches. In today's video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those podcasts, hopefully inspire you to watch them. There's so much good information in these podcasts. The second half of this video, it's a two-part video. I'm going to actually break down some of the things that I'm doing with my clients to help them get ready for this next level. But just so you know, secrets. I don't want you telling everybody like my competition what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. I don't have any competition, so you can tell them. I hope they do the things I'm doing because we're helping young athletes. So let's get into it right now in this video.
And now the most trusted name in all of youth sports, here's Coach Mark.
Hey there, it's Coach Mark. So happy you're here with me today. This is going to be fun because I'm going to recap a really, really fun trip that I just got back from. I spent 9 days on the road. Now, it kind of reminded me of a few years ago. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But I did something called a 30 in 30 tour. And what I did was I visited 30 Division I schools in 30 days. That was one heck of a road trip, but it was so good. Because, I'm out strengthening my relationships with these coaches. There's a reason I'm telling you this, because as a consultant, it's really, really important that I maintain my relevance with them, that I keep up to date with everything that's going on out there. And so that 30 in 30 tour years ago was unbelievable. I started in Pennsylvania and I worked my way down all the way to Miami. Okay. I got to see my son play at UCF opening night. I kind of timed it. So I started in January and I went all the way down to February and did this crazy tour. So I got the idea a couple weeks ago, maybe longer, that I need to get back out on the road. But now with today's stuff going on, I'm doing these podcasts. So I want to walk you through what I just did. Now, these podcasts are at the editors right now. It's going to take a couple weeks to get them out. So sorry if you're watching this and they're not available yet, but they will be soon. So let me walk you through the journey I was on. And then as soon as I'm done with this part of the presentation today, I'm going to also share a couple trade secrets with you that I'm doing with my clients. And there's a reason I'm telling you that as well. So let's start the journey here. My first hat is Wake Forest. Now, I get a hat everywhere I go, which is really cool. And I had such an amazing talk with Bill Salento at Wake Forest. He's a recruiting coordinator. I've known him for a long time. And just so you know how these podcasts work, I come up with content ideas, things that I would like to talk to college coaches about because it's stuff that you need to know. Okay, so the content that I talked to Coach Salento about was building a championship culture, a winning culture, an environment for success. And you know what? He knocked it out of the park. We just focused on that subject. What's that look like? Of course, we talked about the recruiting process because if you're going to build the kind of culture they're building at Wake Forest, top of the food chain, top program, you got to have the right kids. So we talked a lot about what the right kids were. So that was an amazing podcast. Now, at the same time, there's a player there named Will Ray. Will and I go back a long way. I coached Will when he was young. He came through the program that I was running. And I actually had the opportunity to sit down with Will and talk about it from a player's perspective. Now, I'll tell you this. He had nothing but phenomenal things to say about Wake Forest, which doesn't surprise me. They do a great job down there. So I got doubled up on that one. So that was really fun. So once I left Wake Forest, I had a 9-hour drive all the way over to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And boy, was I excited about that because that is one of the top facilities in the country. Obviously, a storied program in the SEC. And I have an amazing relationship with their head coach, Rob Vaughn. Now, Rob, he was at Maryland when I first met him, and we had a lot of players play for him, and they all loved Coach Vaughn. I understand why. He's young, he's energetic, and he is a leadership guru kind of guy. So when I came up with my content to talk to somebody about leadership development, well, there was nobody better to speak to about that subject than Rob Vaughn. So we had an amazing time talking about leadership. He shared so much wisdom about how you develop leadership in these young athletes and gave us some resources of how to do that. So for parents, for players, for coaches, that's a must watch. Now, while I was there, a couple crazy things happened. The first thing is I ran into a player that I didn't know. His name was Sam Christensen. And as we got to talking, we found out that we actually played against each other when he was 14 years old, when I took a team out to Arizona. Well, as fate would have it, the team that he was playing for was coached by a guy named Mike Adams. And Mike is one of the best guys I've ever met in travel baseball. And of course, Sam was singing his praises. So I sent Mike a picture and said, look who I'm with. And as Sam was telling me his story, I'm like, Sam, we got to get that on video. You have such a great story of determination and tenacity. We've got to get that on video. So we sat down. I just let the cameras set up and the lights on, and Sam came in and we talked. And that's a new podcast. You're going to get to see my talk with Sam Christensen, a kid that I just met literally in the team lounge at Alabama. But there was another player there named Caleb Barnett, and Caleb played for me also. He's a freshman at Alabama, and I asked him if he'd be willing to sit down, and he said yes. So we turned the cameras on, and we had an amazing podcast. And I was asking him all kinds of questions about what it's like to be a freshman in the SEC, and he gave me some really honest, good answers. You're going to love watching that podcast as well. So I wrapped up at Alabama, and my trip was going great, but I knew it was just going to keep getting better. And sure enough, I drove over to Auburn, another top SEC school, obviously, and I sat down with their head coach, Butch Thompson. Now, this one was unlike any podcast I've ever done because Butch is a very strong Christian. And I've always respected that he's been very bold in his faith. He doesn't hide it. And I was really curious, how do you run a program in the SEC with your faith, clearly on the front line? So I called it Faith in Baseball. We sat down, we sat out in left field, set the cameras up out in left field, and we talked for over an hour about our faith. So if you're interested in hearing two guys talk about how we weave our faith into sports and how we, hope to make a positive impact on these young athletes, boy, that talk, it was like nothing else existed. The cameras weren't there, the lights weren't there, the stadium wasn't there. It was literally like we're floating there talking about, I think Butch would agree, the most important thing in our lives, which is our faith. So I've never done that before, but when I wrapped up with him, I said to Butch, I could literally do just this. I could literally just go around the country and talk to people in sports about their faith and how they're using their platform. And so don't be surprised if you see that topic come up over and over and over again, because it's so important, so important. So finished up there and headed over to Atlanta and spent the weekend with my two sons, Christian and Zach, and we watched the Penn State game together. And that was a big disappointment because they lost to Oregon. We were cheering them on, but boy, there wasn't a lot to cheer about. So I finished up there and I thought, okay, man, I got one more podcast to bang out. And boy, is it going to be a good one. I went up to Clemson and I sat down with my good friend, longtime friend, Nick Schnabel. He's the recruiting coordinator at Clemson. I've known him for a long time. He actually recruited Christian when Christian, my son, was only in ninth grade. Now, Nick at the time was at ECU. He's had an amazing career. He went from ECU up to Michigan. Now he's at Clemson doing a fantastic job with Coach Eric Bagich. So just an amazing guy with a wealth of knowledge. And when we sat down, we talked about 10 myths in Bravo baseball. And I had come up with them. I texted them to him. I said, are any of these you don't want to talk about? He said, no, they're all great. Let's talk about every one of them. And we basically dispelled 10 myths. Now, a myth is not always not all true, meaning some of it's true, some of it's not true. So, we really broke it down. We got into some really good ones, and you're going to love that. So hopefully you can see I love these podcasts, but I want to make sure you know why I'm doing them. I'm doing them for you. I mean, no offense, I already know all this stuff. I mean, not that I'm not learning every day, but let's be honest. I've been doing this 20 years. When I ask these questions to coaches, I know the answers. I just want you to hear their answers so you're getting the information from the source. You have to understand something. There's so much misinformation out there. And if you're listening to the wrong people, you're going to get really confused, possibly overwhelmed, or worse, way off track. These college coaches, this is their job. This is what they do. They are great at what they do. And I'm going out and getting that information for you and putting them in these podcasts. So just want to make sure you know why I'm doing it. That was a 9-day trip away from home. And a lot of things get pushed off to the side when I'm on the road like that. But I just think it's so valuable. I'm going to keep doing it. So lots more of those coming. All right. So I hope that inspired you to watch these podcasts. Okay. As promised, part 2 of this video, sort of related to the podcast, because as I'm talking to the college coaches about all these things, it's always giving me good information of what I want to be doing with my clients. I'm almost like a college coach. I know them so well. I'm talking to them constantly. So I can be that for my clients. I can help them become what I know these guys are looking for. Hopefully you can see that's a big advantage. I like to think of them as I'm grooming them. I'm helping them become what they are capable of becoming, but very, very specific. So conceptually, what I'm doing with my clients is inspired, let's say, by the college coaches. So let me give you some specifics. I take a lot of heat because some people think it's ridiculous that I would be working with 9 and 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds. So let me just address this head on. I don't understand that thinking at all, because maybe if they were thinking that I was talking to a 9-year-old about getting a scholarship or getting drafted, maybe that would be ridiculous. I mean, sometimes I am talking to them because they already have the dream. And I'm one of these people. I'm going to take them serious. I am going to let them know that I've already coached kids that were 9 years old that are playing in the big leagues. That's not a pipe dream to me. I've already experienced it. It's way out ahead of them. But hey, if you want something, it's pretty nice to have somebody along helping you that's already done it, right? So, but that's not really what I'm talking to these young kids about. Here's what I'm doing with young kids. I am helping them learn, number one, how to build their confidence. Now, you don't say to a 9-year-old, hey, go build your confidence, okay? They don't know what you're talking about. I do, and their parents usually do, because we're adults, okay? We have many, many, many years on these young kids. So, for example, if I give a 9-year-old a goal to juggle, I want you to learn to juggle. I want you to picture this process, okay? First of all, most of them can't juggle. Okay, so that's a good start. I'm giving them an assignment of something they can't do. But here's what I'm explaining to them. Hey, this is going to be hard. You are going to struggle with this. You are going to be frustrated. You might even want to quit. What happens when we try something new? We don't have the skill. What happens? We get frustrated. What do some people do? They quit. But we're not going to quit. We're going to learn, this is how I'm talking to this 9-year-old, we're going to learn that this is just part of the process. When you're learning something new, you do get frustrated and you have to persevere. There's a big word for you. Persevere through the adversity, through the frustrations. On the other side of that is called skill. We're going to learn the skill through that process. So they start juggling and their balls are going everywhere and they're dropping them. And they've all told me it was hard. It was frustrating. But they're kids. Kids are tenacious. If they're encouraged, they will keep doing something. And all of a sudden, things are happening and they're learning to juggle. Well, now they have a new skill and we keep that skill going. It's not like scratch that off the list. We keep that going, but they learn to work through their frustrations. I share this with them. I don't know if it registers or not, but we as adults can all agree. We probably know a lot of people, hopefully you're not one of them, that we say we do things and then we don't do them. And I am 100% convinced if we make a habit of saying we're going to do something and then we don't do it, what happens is we stop believing in ourselves. That's what happens. And what happens when we don't believe in ourselves? Our confidence tanks. So then we don't do anything, okay? And this is the vicious cycle, the spiral, downward spiral that a lot of people are in. They never learned early that when you say you're going to do something, you got to do it. Because the opposite is also true. These young kids learning, I say I'm going to do it, I do it. Wow. I say I'm going to do it, I do it. Wow. They start building this confidence. And keep in mind, we're setting goals that we can achieve. I'm not giving these kids 5-year goals. I'm not giving them goals they can't achieve. Hey, go dunk a basketball. I'm saying let's learn to jump rope. Let's learn to juggle. Let's do this assignment. Wow, you got a perfect score on this assignment. I knew they would, right? That's how you build confidence. I don't mean to spend so much time on it, but that's such a huge part. Do you understand that when you keep doing that? I just had 3 players this summer make their big league debut. Cole Young, Sal Stewart Jr., and Nick Riquet. I can tell you this about all 3 of those players. They've been setting goals and hitting goals their whole life. So just imagine when they get to the minor leagues, the goal is to get to the big leagues once you're in the minor leagues, right? Do you really think they didn't think they were going to get there? They've been getting there their whole life. They've been setting a series of goals and hitting their goals because that's what they learned early. That's what we're talking about here. Getting to the big leagues was just another goal for them. Granted, a big goal, but they were going to get there because they believed they were going to get there from a series of success stories throughout their entire life. Okay? Really, really important. Let me tell you another thing I'm doing with my clients. I'm holding them accountable. Okay, I used to say to my son, nobody's going to take you serious if you don't take yourself serious. So I need to see you documenting things you're doing. In other words, you're writing things down, and I'm going to hold you accountable. You're going to tell me you're going to do 3 sets of 20 push-ups every day. Document it. I want to see it. I don't want to be this talk the talk but not walk the walk. We're going to say we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and we're going to document what we're doing. Huge, huge, huge for these young kids. Let me just give you one more, and I could go on and on, but goal setting. There's studies that prove that when you have goals and write them down, you are much more likely to be successful than those who don't write goals down or don't even have goals. So I love to give these kids goals. I'll give them assignments, goals, and they just keep coming back with the right stuff. And we're just walking down the journey together. So that's what I'm doing with the younger kids. Now, when you get to 13, 14, 15, we're really starting to hone in on some skills because you gotta have the skills to play at the next level. You got to be polished. Okay, a lot of kids are what they call raw. We don't want to be raw. We want to be polished. We also want to be pretty definitive in where we project at the next level. A lot of kids not focused on a position, and what happens is they end up being a jack of all trades and a master of none. So with the older kids, we're working on skills, we're working on athleticism, we're working on strength, and we're working on position projection of their position. And there are certain skills and certain metrics that we need to be honing in on for that position. Okay. It's not, I'm a baseball player anymore. It's, I'm a center fielder. I'm a shortstop. I'm a catcher. I'm a right-handed pitcher. I'm a left-handed pitcher. We're getting very specific, and I'm helping them develop the skills, the mentality, and the all the activities surrounding their position. Really, really important. So I could go on and on about this, but those are some of the things I'm doing with my clients. I'm having a blast. I am nearing the end, by the way, of being able to take on any new clients. I'm so involved in their development and their careers that I can't do that with a lot of people. So if you have any interest in becoming a client, I would say now would be a good time to reach out, set up a 15-minute free call with me. We'll talk about it. If it makes sense, I'll do a Zoom presentation for you, show you all the things that I'm doing. But again, spots are definitely limited and coming to an end. In fact, let me just say this publicly. I'm really not taking any kids after the age of 15 at this point. And I don't know any other way of saying it. I'm just going to say it. It's so hard to catch kids up when they've fallen so far behind. So if you're a parent of a young kid, yeah, let's do this while we have the time. And unfortunately, if you're the parent of a kid that's 15 or 16 years old, I probably can't take them on as a client. I'll do everything I can to help and certainly provide videos for you guys. But really looking for the kids where we actually have the time to get the job done. So thanks for listening today. A lot of information coming your way. I really appreciate you being a subscriber to the channel, hitting the like button, hitting the notifications. Bye for now. God bless.